Hello, I'm Keith Hilson with the Schmidt Music Trombone Shop, back with another mouthpiece review for you. And today I have another member of the Yamaha Signature series of mouthpieces. Last video, I did a review of their Nils Landgren signature mouthpiece, and this week I have a mouthpiece that they designed with the great Canadian trombone player Alain Trudel. So this, of course, is a large shank mouthpiece. Alain Trudel, of course, is an exceptionally well-known, especially in trombone circles, soloist. On tenor, on alto, he's frankly in the classical world known as much, if not more so, for his conducting and composition work now. But of course, in the trombone world, he'll always be a trombone player to us for very good reason. An amazing player, a wonderful, wonderful soloist with such great control and such a beautiful sound. And so, of course, he has his own mouthpiece with Yamaha here. So I'm going to be taking a play on this so that you can hear it in action, and then we'll talk about it afterwards today here. I'm going to be playing all of this today on our Lake City TB 415 large bore tenor trombone. So, as I mentioned in the beginning, we of course know Alain Trudel as a trombone soloist and of course orchestral player as well. Very much in the mold of Ian Bousfield and Joseph Alessi and all of these other great orchestral players who are also internationally renowned soloists. And of course, for that reason, he was in need of a setup that gave him a lot of flexibility to be able to move between these, in a lot of ways, very different roles. And knowing that, I can see why this mouthpiece is designed the way it is. So the Alain Trudel model here is a 25.23 millimeter cup width. So in comparison, the Bach 6.5 AL is a 25.4 and the 5G is a 25.5. So in the large bore tenor realm, this is just a touch on the small side. Now that cup width is paired with a relatively deep cup. I would say it's very close to like a 5G kind of cup, but with a little bit narrower throat and back bore. So it gives a little bit different compression, but with that cup to help to get some initiation with the sound there as well. One of the things I experienced in my last video with the Nils Landgren mouthpiece was that they had a fairly rounded rim, a little bit on the narrow side. The Lane model here has what they describe as a semi-round rim, but a little bit wider. It's actually very reminiscent of a Bach rim to me, so which means it felt comfortable. What I experienced with the mouthpiece right away, again, of course, I played it mostly in soloistic settings for the demonstration, but what I was trying to do is put it through its paces a little bit. What is it like, at these really soft, quiet, very touchy dynamics, and being able to move through the ranges when I'm really pushing the dynamics and trying to go for a broader orchestral type of sound? How does it respond for me? A couple things I noticed right away. For me personally, the cup width was just a little bit on the small side. Whenever I'm doing mouthpiece reviews, that's the area that I always struggle with the most, is knowing that every player has very, very different preferences when it comes to that cup width. It's a very, very individualistic thing. And so for folks, say everything else that's going on with the mouthpiece, if the rim width is not really, or the cup width is not really what we're looking for, so many other aspects of the mouthpiece are going to be drowned out by that. So, just to put that out front, it was just a touch small for me. Not that I couldn't play it, but there were certain times where I just felt I didn't have quite the control that I wanted. But beyond that, I felt like there was some real plus sides to it. I loved the control, especially once I got used to what the mouthpiece did. I loved the control, the delicacy it had at these really, really soft passages. I felt like I had really great control moving through the range. Especially in the the mid upper register, getting up above the staff, it really it floated beautifully. Not in a way, not that it didn't center, it just sat in that register so nicely, and I felt like I had a lot of control. I could really shape the notes the way I wanted, put the vibrato where I wanted, very cleanly move between the partials as I was looking for, and I felt like the mouthpiece worked for me with that. I also like, frankly, that same register for the most part in the mid-upper dynamics as well. On the flip side, what I felt was in the the tenor baritone register, in the staff, and then getting below the staff, I had to treat it a little bit differently. I liked the deep cup. I could feel like I was getting them the amount of feedback that I wanted from it, but at the same time, I could feel a little bit of compression, and I think that compression really was coming from that throat and back bore. So for me, when I went back and just played my 5G just to give it a quick comparison, I felt like I was able to open up a little bit more in that register, able to get a little bit more resonance. I had trouble with really getting notes to ring and to open up the timbre a little bit. It felt a little dead to me at times. And again, I think I'm going to attribute that primarily to the slightly too small cup width for me and a little bit tighter throat and back bore. I personally just had a little bit of difficulty there. But again, this very much comes down to that personal preference thing. I think for somebody who's looking for a mouthpiece that's a little bit more efficient, okay, maybe a 5G or something in that range just feels a little bit too big for me. I want something a little bit smaller, but I'd like to keep a lot of the depth of sound that I might get out of a 5G. Well, boy, something like this I think could be a really, really great fit. And as a side note, one other thing I really did love about this mouthpiece is the sparkle, the timbre that it got in the upper register. In the very last passage as I went up towards the D flat at the end of the cavatine, it sparkled up there. I had no difficulty at all, feeling very solid on that note, controlling the vibrato. That D flats, occasionally a note that I have to work with a little bit, especially to get that vibrato, the control that I want, and it felt rock solid as I was doing that. And again, with a timbre that I really like. In soloistic playing, I tend to like a little bit lighter sound in that upper register with that little shift in timbre, and I felt like the Mouthpiece did that beautifully. So I think, and again, knowing all of the work that Mr. Trudel, has done, those aspects make a lot of sense to me. So it's not a mouthpiece that I would play personally, again, because it just felt a little small, a little uncomfortable, but there's obviously a ton of upside with it that I really, really did enjoy. Like I always say, Yamaha doesn't make bad products. They tend to know what they're doing, and I think this is just another example of that. So I hope you appreciated the chance to see and hear this mouthpiece in action. If you have any thoughts about this model, if you played it before, or if you have experienced other signature mouthpieces that you'd like to share, feel free to leave those in the comments here. Share those ideas with our trombone community here. If you like the video, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to our channel so that way you can see when I have new videos coming out. And of course, as always, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram. So thank you very much, as always, for watching.